Alright. Oh, good. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Here we be. Playing this goddamn game again. Honestly, this is just a game that I play to wind down because it's so mindless, right? I find it really pleasing in that way. For that reason, right? Is the audio too loud? You might have to tell me. Oh, hold on, actually, I can just monitor the output. Yeah, monitoring output. Okay. Hold on. Test. I am. Testing the microphone currently right now. Right now. Testing the microphone. Testing. Test. Okay. I think that actually sound. Oh god. Sorry, hold on. Okay, I was pitch jamming myself because I had the monitor on. Yeah, I was messing with the equalizing. Okay, so I think this should work. This should work fine. I just cranked the bass way high because I have the bass cut out on the microphone, so it should be a better audio balance. So I love playing this game because of how mindless it is. Last time we finished Lu Xun, so I think we should be getting on to a Shu story mode. Now the question is, which ones have I not done yet? Is Jiang Wei, Ma Chao, Zhang Fei, and Huang Zhong. Which of these guys is coolest? Well, there's no question. It's Zhang Fei. How many characters do I have left? I think that I have 3 left on every faction, plus the leader that gets unlocked after you do that. And the strategist. So it will probably be like 5 each, right? Which is 15 characters. That's kind of a lot. I really just committed to a really long playthrough, didn't I? I mean, these games are infamously long. A game in this franchise is the one that killed the completionist, isn't it? Like Gerard, like he was doing a thing and then just... Which one was it? I think it was Hyrule Warriors 1. And to be fair, that game is monstrous because of its release schedule, basically. It was released as like one game with tons of downloadable content, right? And then the remastered edition just had all that downloadable content, which meant that it was baseline a huge game for the Switch. I own it. It's very fun. I like it. I haven't played it in a while. Maybe I should. I wouldn't do it for stream, but that's just because I don't have a capture card. Now, let's try to figure out this guy. Hold on, this is the generic moveset, isn't it? Yeah, I think Jiang Wei has the same one. The same one. Okay, so 2 doesn't work. It takes way too long. It's also kind of difficult to just combo them like that. I think it has to be 3. But it's hard to catch them in the first place. Yeah, it's very difficult. Okay, how about the Muso? Is the Muso something that I can rely on? God damn it. For combo extending. Because remember, The way that this game works, I have to combo them in order to get the upgrades, which is the only way to make the final stages not fucking awful. Okay, the combo is pretty easy. The Muso is pretty easy, so I can just rely on that a little bit. Let's try to make that work. Yeah, you need to get good combos in this game, because otherwise you can't get really good upgrades, and that makes the later stages super difficult, even on normal mode. And sadly, not every character can be an absolute fucking combo monster like, what's his name? Lucian. That combo was way too easy. It kind of felt like cheating. Okay, let's try to... Comboing the gate captains on the first stage though is a bit difficult just because of how many mooks the game likes to send at you. Mook is a funny word. Mook. Is it even a thing outside of a video game context? It must mean something, right? Is it like goon? Not like, you know, that goon, but like the other goon. Hey boss, that kind of goon. It's gotta be something like that, right? Nope, I was way deviated. Let's just use the combo. It's fine. If I can get an 8 combo, that's good enough for most instances. The only reason I was trying to get way more on Lucian was just because I could, right? But for this guy, comboing seems a bit more difficult unless I figure something out later, so let's just be happy with 8. Obviously, I will still try for more if it seems like I'm doing fine. Ooh, good. I do like that they color-coded the different factions in this. You know, like our allies are purple now because we are working with the Han Empire, the Dynasty, but later on they'll be... Our allies will be green because we'll be Shu Kingdom. No, come on, please grab him. Oh, yes, nice. Excellent. I got a better cable for my mic, by the way, so I don't know if you can hear the difference, but I for sure can. Where there should be just a lot less electrical noise coming through on my voice. So that's very nice. It didn't mean that I had to fiddle with a bunch of settings again, though. Because as it turns out, USB means that it stands out for universal, not really for high quality series bus. Although to be fair, it's not that universal anyway nowadays. Was it ever, though? It's more of an aspirational name, isn't it? I joined, by the way, just trying to start conversation with the nobody in the room, right? I joined the programmer Discord the other day. My god, what a bunch of mouth-drooling, fucking pretentious assholes they were. They were so mean to, like, people who weren't even there. It's like, okay, like, listen, people being mean on the internet is one thing, and I'm a pretty mean person too sometimes, right? I talk shit a lot. But, like, these guys were basically just, okay, so it was a game dev Discord. It was meant to be for game developers, and already programmers are kind of a bad crowd to be around. I've always held that in my mind. Programmers, if you can avoid them, you should try to, because they're not very pleasant people, and they're not as smart as they like to think they are. But that goes for me too, right? I try to fucking go out of that, but I'm mean as fuck. But anyway, the point is, I was in this game developer Discord, right? And I was just kind of there. I was just checking it out. I wasn't like trying to be active or anything. It's just that whenever I come across these, I like to join them because sometimes they have interesting things to share, right? But I've never found one that has been like a good community, right? To be fair, my standards are pretty high. So I was just kind of hanging out there and trying to take the vibe. I was lurking, as people call it, right? And these guys were just like, just a conversation got started, and somebody was saying like, hey guys, I just made some research, like already kind of like, I was just making some research, and I realized that in the most recent section, in places where people publish indie games, everybody seems to be latching on to the genre of first-person horror, and I just want to say, I didn't think that was very good. And then the guy responded to, like, already that's such a pretentious thing to fucking say, like, oh, I don't think it's very good that this genre is popular. Fucking why? It's a genre. Who cares? It's like people, like, trends happen. And like being pissed off at people following a trend is like, because, you know, it's very much that kind of thing where it's like, oh, they're all fucking sheep following the things and not being creative. They're just copying each other. And it's like, or maybe they just found a new thing that they liked and they're excited about it because it's fresh and new. Have you ever considered that? That's what a trend is, you fucking pretentious dickhead, right? And like, okay, that's already like a pretentious kind of unpleasant thing to be saying, but it is also true that there are those kinds of people who will work on something purely because it's trendy, like as a hustle, right? Like because it gets a lot of attention because it's the hot thing right now. And you could say that is, in a creative field, somewhat contemptible. Like if you're not really adding anything but just doing it because others are doing it. Although to that I would say that you can't really tell without playing in the specific game, so it's a very case-by-case basis, and I doubt that this person really was playing. They're probably just browsing the tags, right? So even then, I don't think it's a very good point. But at the very least, I can see why somebody would make it, right? And then somebody else responds to that guy, and he's basically like, oh, yeah, I saw that too. That's because they're... How did he phrase it? It was in Spanish, right? So I'm doing like translated. He phrased it like, that's because they're little kids that haven't even learned how to clean their own boogers, trying to pretend like they know something. It's like, who the fuck? Shutting your coffee, dude? Jesus Christ! That's such a huge amount of venom for the idea that a genre is popular. Like, where the fuck is all of that coming from? These are pretentious motherfuckers who think that they know better, who think that they are more creative and that they are going against the grain, right? And being so super disruptive of the industry because they are making platformer number 3,792 in an era where nobody's paying attention to platformers anymore. And look, if you like platformers and you're making platformers even though they're not the hot thing right now, then I have nothing but respect to you. But if you're doing platformers as a way to stand out because you think that everybody else is fucking shit for following, I'm sorry, you're a fucking idiot. You're a fucking goober, man. How about you try fucking expanding your horizons, branching out a little bit and developing something that isn't the one thing that you fucking know because it's the one thing that you played when you were fucking 12 years old, you fucking boomer. Jesus. What a bunch of dickheads. Like, is it really that much of an issue that things are popular at certain periods in time? I mean, y'all motherfucking assholes only like platformers because they were the hot thing in your formative years. So, how is that any different? Back then, I could have said just as well that you were just fucking a little boogerism moron just following a trend without critically thinking, right? So fucking what's the issue? You are the same. You are exactly the same. Become, you know, truly you are the most pathetic, for you have become an enemy of your child self. Couldn't be me. Wow, I got way more heated up during that than I thought I was gonna. But it is warranted. That guy was a complete dickhead. I just left the Discord. Because, you know, you can tell the vibe from a place, from things like that. It was a good vibe. They just failed the bike check. And it's their loss, because honestly, who wouldn't want to have me around? Oh, what the fuck was that laugh? I shouldn't do that. Like, it was ironic, but I still shouldn't. Anyway, that sort of attitude is the kind of thing that I expect from programmers. Like, a lot. Man, programmers are just such a bunch of fucking idiot goobers. Like, as a community, right? Like, obviously I'm a programmer, so I don't believe that all of them are like that, but, like, just to make it really clear, what I mean is, like, the programmer community is fucking toxic as fuck. And really, most communities online are, but programmers are, like, annoying in that infuriating little way where, like, it pisses me off even more, right? Because at least with other toxic communities, like, I can just kind of get it or just not engage, but programmers are the one where it's like, it's the most anti-intellect, like, that's the thing that annoys me, right? Is that they are the most intellectually pretentious, the most fart-sniffy about how intelligent they are, right? While being the most anti-intellectual motherfuckers ever. You know? The most sheep. Well, sheep is not the word. The most just unreasoning, tradition-led, you know, people. And that's really what bothers me, is the incongruency, is the complete lack of self-awareness. But I guess I should probably give an example, right? Because I'm just kind of speaking out things into the air and asking you to believe me, and that's probably not the right thing. So let's give a more concrete example. What I mean by that, and the sort of thing that happens a lot in programmer groups, is that... Okay, let me just be really clear. There's nothing I hate more in these kinds of groups and discussions, particularly when it comes to a particular trade or like a skill set, or like, you know, a group that is there to like learn something together and share knowledge, that kind of thing, right? There's nothing that I hate more than people that will tell you that this is how you should do something, but are not able to explain why. You know? And I don't care what they say, because a lot of the times they'll say, well, everybody's doing it that way, so they can't all be wrong. First of all, yeah, they can. Many times it happens that everybody's just doing like it. That is possible. But second of all, that doesn't matter, right? Like, because you could be right. In fact, you are probably right that X, Y, and Z is the right way to do something. I believe them When people say that object-oriented programming, that's one of the things, right? Object-oriented programming is a programming paradigm, and a programming paradigm is just a fancy way of saying it's a way to organize your code so that it's not a fucking mess, right? And I completely believe people when they say, people will say that I'm that I'm anti-OOP, right? But that's not true. I like OOP. And I completely believe people when they say that OOP is good and that it solves a lot of problems. I believe them. But that doesn't excuse them not being able to explain it. I don't have to take it on their word, no matter what they say, no matter how much everybody else does it, no matter how many experts do it that way. Because here's the thing. When Gordon Ramsay tells you how to cook an egg, he can tell you why that is the case. Either by pointing at the result. Like, he may not be able to tell you what about the chemical composition of an egg makes it so that is the best way, but he can tell you, hey, I tried cooking an egg in very many ways, and this is the best way by far, right? It makes, because he has the cooking and tasting knowledge to tell you what exactly about it makes the egg good. He won't say, oh, it's good because that's the way it is. He will say, it's good, it makes the eggs creamier, softer, and richer, right? And then I could ask, what do you mean by richer exactly? And then he might have a better explanation elaborating that particular point. You can have a conversation about that sort of thing, right? So he is a smart person that is saying the right thing. The difference is that sometimes you get these fucking morons, right, who are saying the right thing. I'm not denying that they're saying the right thing. They are saying, here's how to cook an egg. But then when you ask them why, the only thing they'll be able to say is, oh, that's how Gordon Ramsay told me to, right? And that pisses me off. If you don't know why it's good, it's fine if that's the way that you like to do it. But if you don't know why it's good, then don't try to preach it. Don't try to teach me like you know anything, right? Like, whenever I'm talking about object-oriented programming, they'll always rebound themselves to the origin myth of object-oriented programming, where all of these wise programmers who are better than you at coding came down from Mount Sinai and put together their years of programming experience and looked at the problems that befell the world, and in so doing they identified the core issues and set about to giving ourselves the codes and guidelines that we were supposed to follow in order for them to rid us of this evil, right? And they'll cite that as a good explanation for why object-oriented programming is good. But that is not an explanation for why it's good. It's just not. I'm sorry. And look, I believe you that all of those people were smarter than me. I know that they are, because they have 1,000 years more experience, more programming experience than I do, and you know, they wrote a whole book about these things, and they were probably able to explain why these things are good and what problems they helped to solve. But they are not the ones telling me about OOP. It's you. And you, sir, are a complete fucking dipshit. So I don't see why I should believe you. You know what I mean? And again, OOP is fucking amazing, but when you don't know what it's meant to solve, and you don't know what its limitations are, when you don't understand why it is good, and why it solves the problems that it solves, then you become a parrot who only knows how to repeat. And that doesn't mean you're smart. Just because you say the right things doesn't mean that you know the right things. And programmers tend to have a, very clear tendency to lean that way, and it's just annoying. I've never found a large group of programmers where that doesn't seem to be the prevailing vision, right? All about traditions, all about the right way to do things as taught by somebody else. None about critical thinking. I'm sorry, dude. That's unscientific and stupid. Like, look, I'll just not do OOP, then come across all these problems that you say are going to be solved by OOP, and I will realize, oh, OOP solves those problems. Great. And I'll come out, and you'll call me an idiot for not listening to you, but actually you'll be the idiot because I'll come out of that experience with a greater understanding that you could ever possibly achieve in your life for why OOP is actually good. Man, I wasn't expecting to just start ranting about this stuff. I probably should have, though. I'm the one who, of my own volition, started talking about shit that bothers me. But I mean, it's good to get these things out. I mean, I've been having to go to these object-oriented programming classes, right? And again, I reiterate, because I'm sure that if anybody's actually listening to this, they're absolutely going to only hear I don't like OOP and nothing else. So I'm going to say this again. I like OOP. OOP solves a lot of problems. OOP is fine, right? So with that said, I have these object-oriented programming classes, and this professor is just... he's not very smart, right? He's not very good at that sort of reasoning, right? Again, he can say all the right things, and he's been a good teacher, right? He's taught us OOP pretty decently. We know how OOP works, but whenever questions arise about why OOP, he just completely flounders. Again, he reminds himself to doing the same old tricks of telling us why the people that came up with OOP are better than us, but that's not answering the question of why OOP. And listen, I don't want to hear the explanation, the typical explanation of it makes code more scalable. I know it does. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in more detail. How exactly does OOP achieve making code easier to scale? How does adding so many limitations to code make it easier to scale? In which way the mechanisms work? All of them, one by one. In what way does encapsulation make things easier? In what way does, you know, polymorphism to make things easier? In what way do you know? I want you to name them one by one, because anywhere you can't, then is one that I'm going to start thinking is unnecessary, right? And also, just another thing, don't start using fucking stupid acronyms. That's... fucking acronyms are literally just using stupid acronyms like KISS and BASIC, or what was it? BASIC? It was solid. Using acronyms like KISS and solid to try to explain a concept, it literally just reduces it to a knowledge check. You know? Like, who gives a shit if you can memorize the acronym? What does that matter? Why are we fucking imposing that? Oh, but the acronym makes it easy to remember. No, it fucking doesn't. No, it absolutely fucking doesn't. I mean, when it's something snappy like KISS, like keep it simple stupid, right? Where like it's supposed to be kind of a joke, then I'll accept it. But like for something like solid, where like, you know, the individual letters of solid are like fucking some esoteric like inversion of Karnikov or something like that, right? I forget the fucking name. It's just like, that's a pretty good idea that you're fucking missing, that you're fucking failing, that you're not making things easier to understand. But that's the thing though, isn't it? The objective, the stated objective is that it makes things easier to understand, but that's not actually true, is it? It's not. You're not gonna convince me that it is. Nobody's going to convince me that it is, because the actual objective of using a bunch of fucking dumbass acronyms to like try to give out all these little subjects, it's so that when somebody asks a question, you don't have to bother explaining to them. You can just point to the little poster on the wall that says, do solid, and then act like you're smarter than them because you know the precious little acronym, because you memorized the little thing. Programmers, man, so proud of their fucking memory. Like that is a skill that is at all remarkable in a world that has invented fucking paper. Honestly, why would you ever want to use your memory for anything? A piece of paper can hold data, any data, better than a human brain can. Always, every single time. That is always true. A piece of clay can, You scribble something and it lives for 1,000 years. A human person can remember things for like 20 years tops, right? Depending on what it is, maybe a little bit longer. Some things you remember for life. What if that lossless transmission with a piece of paper that you write something on? You got a good chance, you know? Like if you store it well enough. Memory is a completely useless skill to have. It's a good parlor trick. You know? Okay, it's not completely useless. I'm kind of exaggerating a lot here. But it's so much less useful than so many other things. Like the situations in which memory is useful are like super specific. Just carry a notebook with you. Your brain... The job of your brain should not be to remember. It should be to think. That's a thing that I've always... That should be the job of your brain, not to remember. Have you ever noticed how much how much brain power you waste only on remembering? It's kind of crazy, honestly, because I started doing this thing, right? I started just writing any thought on like a little notebook, right? I just started carrying a notebook around and writing things down. And what happened, right, was that, well, I wasn't writing every single meandering thought down, because then I would just be fucking stream of consciousness, fucking grabbing the pencil and just having it there all the time, writing, just, and then it would be completely unreadable, right? But I mean, every single time that I thought a thought, and it was a thought that I wanted to remember later, for whatever reason, right, no matter how minor. Even just, oh, that would be a good idea for a song, right? And as somebody who doesn't write songs, right? Like, stuff like, oh, I was supposed to do that thing today, write it down, right? Oh, you know, what am I going to do later? Write it down, right? And then just having a little system for myself, for keeping track of the notes and just kind of reviewing them on the go, right? Having set times in the days where I would review the notes and just kind of organize them into, you know, things that I do want to remember, things that I just kind of wrote down and seemed like a good idea at the time, but I actually don't really need anymore, things that are just impractical for whatever reason. Just, you know, putting them into little folders and then throwing one of them away, right? One of them was just things that I would throw away. And so I got into this habit, right, of writing just a lot of my thoughts. And what started happening was that I would start to have a thought, and then I would think, oh, I'm going to write it down. And then I would find out that it was already written down, right? It makes sense. A lot of times you think the same thing many times throughout the day. But then, after it went on long enough, it started becoming less, oh, I'm going to write that, oh, I already wrote that down, like less going to the notebook, I'm finding out that I had written it down, and more thinking the thought, and then before even having to open the notebook, remembering that I had written it down, right? And so not bothering it. And then that, in turn, started to turn into just not having the thought at all. Like, in the back of my mind, my brain somehow made the connection, right? That this thought, this train of thought has already been written down and will be taken care of later. So we don't need to come back to it, right? We don't need to have this thought. And that had two results. One, it made it, it made things easier to think through, right? It felt like having a lot of redundant thoughts just kind of leave your brain because they were put in the notebook, right? And so they are no longer taking space. And so when I think about what I am going to do now, the answer doesn't become, oh, let's spend 5 minutes trying to remember. It becomes, well, let's open the notebook and check, right? And so it made decision taking easier and faster. But the other thing that started happening is that my mind just felt so much clearer, right? Like in an extremely pleasant way. Like all of a sudden, I could go on a walk and just go on a walk and not have like, yeah, sometimes you still get a stray thought, but not as often, because there's all those thoughts that you already know that you had, that you have written, and so they don't enter your mind, my mind. That was the case for me. They didn't enter my mind because I already knew that they were written. So there was so much less to be, there was so much less to keep in mind, there was so much less to be thinking about. And so as I walked down the street, I wasn't thinking about, oh, I have to, when I get home, I have to do laundry, I have to like do these things, and then I'm supposed to do this, you know, homework, I'm gonna do this and that. No. It was, oh, the weather's nice. There's a bird chirping. That's nice. You know? And I don't know, it was kind of beautiful. I really like that. I stopped doing it because something happened to that little notebook, and so I didn't have a pocket little thing to write on anymore, right? And so I was going to buy one, but then I just kind of forgot. And so I stopped doing that, and then I lost the habit. But I really should get back into it because it just made life a lot more pleasant. Like, it made me more productive, and that was why I was doing it. But the side effect of making everything just more pleasant to do, I want to go back to that, honestly. So that's my advice. If you have any advice, that's my advice. Start journaling. I don't mean like writing about your feelings, although absolutely you can write about those too, and that does help. But just about your thoughts, about the things that you need to do. Every time you think a thought and you think, oh, I have to remember this later. This is something that I'm going to do when something else happens. Don't keep it in your mind. Put it on a piece of paper. It worked for me. It may not work for you. Alright, alright. Hello, hello. I can't hear jack shit. Hold on. What's going on? Hello, hello. 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 Hello, hello. You probably can hear it. Why can't I? Is it not detecting my mic? On my end? Ah, Jesus Christ. Okay, hold on. Hello, hello. Hello. Okay. Oh, but this one doesn't have any noise reduction. Okay, let's messing around with my fucking sources. It's such a pain. I seem to have to do this every time. If I had a better setup, I would actually run like. So let's just leave it like that. Okay, so here's the thing about, well, first of all, welcome, right, to this thing that I do. Yeah. Okay, so last time I ended this stream somewhat abruptly, and that is because I had a bit of an emergency, something that I had to take care of. Some stuff happened. Don't worry too much about it. It wasn't anything bad. And then I didn't stream for a while because, well, the end of the year is always a bit of a funky time, isn't it? But now, oh god, I just realized something. My computer is in a different position. And that makes it so that the avatar is always looking down now. Whenever I'm facing forward. And whenever I'm looking right ahead, it's looking more down than it should. I'm gonna have to fix that later. So yeah, that's why we're starting in the middle of a stage. And later when I upload this to YouTube, they're gonna be joined together. So if you were just watching from there, then you're gonna find... this is like 3 weeks later, just so you know, right? From what you were just watching before. Although nobody watches those videos. Or doing these streams. So yeah, I just sort of wanted to play something simple. And this is always my go-to when I'm in that sort of mood, isn't it? Because the end of this year has been a bit of a complicated time for me. It's been stressful. That's all I'll say about it. So I would rather just be doing this rather than any of the coding that I do or playing Taz, which to be fair isn't that much of a brainy game anyways, but it's less mindless than this, right? So, one thing, if you have good headphones and you remember what I usually sound like, you may notice that I sound a lot better than usual, or at least that's what I'm hoping, right? So if you're curious about what happened, and I'm just, also just as a tip, if you're like someone who has to deal with microphones and stuff, what happened was, right, so a couple of months ago I noticed that my microphone, which is a Samsung Meteor mic, it's a good microphone brand, it's like one of the cheapest ones that they have, but it's good for the price, right? It cost me something like $40 in 2012 or something, and it's been going strong. It's not the highest quality mic, but it's a directional mic, and it's pretty. Actually, it's not that directional, is it? I forget whether it is or isn't. I always use it in the same position, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's a pretty good mic. I like it. And for somebody who's like, you know, a pretty but for this kind of scrappy operation like this stream is, it's pretty good. Like it's not prohibitively expensive. It produces a pretty okay sound. It has like just a lot of things to help you set it up, right? Like it's kind of meant for beginners, right? So that'll be my microphone recommendation if that's what you are. But what was I saying? Yeah, so the Samsung Meteor mic, it has a little light on the front, right? And that light tells you whether the microphone is on or off, right? So if you press the button on it, the light turns red, and that means that it is off and it is not recording. And if you just plug it in or just press the button while it is off, it'll turn on and the light will be blue. So what happened was that a couple months ago, I noticed that the light was orange. And that's unusual. Usually it only does that when the cable is frayed or it doesn't have a stable connection, right, to the computer. So I tried checking that, right, and I tried fiddling with the cable, swapping cables, right, doing all this stuff, and it just kept showing up orange, the light on the microphone. So I just didn't know what to do, but when I plugged it in, it worked, right? It recorded, and I figured it's working, so it's probably not a big deal, right? It's probably nothing. And it sort of stayed that way for like the last 2 or 3 months whenever I used it. And mind you, I use this microphone to talk on Discord, so I was saying this every day. This is not just when I stream, right? And so I just kind of wondered why it was. Now, at the same time, I also had an issue with OBS deleting all my microphone settings, right? So I noticed that the sound was a lot worse at around the same time that the lights started turning orange, but I didn't realize that it was that because I figured that it must have been the Discord audio settings, right? I tried to get them back to how they were, but I didn't have a backup, so I figured I probably have something set different. There's probably some setting that I forgot, right? And so I just kind of spent a long time fiddling with the settings in OBS, trying to get the mic to sound like it did before. And just the other day, like last week on a whim, I just sort of thought, hey, what is with the orange thing? Completely unrelated to the audio quality stuff. I just was like, well, why is the light orange anyway? What does it even mean? And so I googled, right, like Samsung Meteor mic, orange light, what does it mean, right? And so what Google said was that, well, there can be many reasons for the light being orange. One of the possible reasons is that the firmware for the mic, right? And if you're a techie person, you know firmware is just the internal software of a device that helps it work, right? So like when you plug a USB mouse and your computer recognizes it as like a Razer mouse or like a fucking whatever brand, right? Instead of just saying generic USB mouse, that's because of the mouse's firmware, right? And so it was like, it could be that the firmware of your microphone is either corrupt or has been deleted, right? And I was like, why would that happen? And so I checked on the audio settings for Windows, and lo and behold, it was picking up the microphone, right? Obviously, because I had been using it for all this time, but it was picking it up as a generic USB microphone. And I was like, oh, my firmware got corrupted. And so there's an easy fix. You just download this little bit of software, you enter the serial number of the microphone, and then just, it installs it for you. And I didn't think it would fix the sound. I figured that it wouldn't be a sound issue, but then when I plugged it in to record something else in Audacity, I don't remember what it was anymore. It just was so much noticeably better. And I was like, oh, so that was my sound issue. It wasn't OBS settings at all. So that was kind of funny. That was a bit of a wild question. It's funny that both things sort of happened at the same time, so I just didn't know. Like, why wouldn't I think that it was OBS just messing up my issues? Because it did mess up all my settings. It just I managed to get them back, like, just after fiddling a little bit and remembering what they were. There wasn't any extra settings, it was just the microphone's firmware. And it turns out that for some reason the firmware also makes it sound better. I have no idea how that works. It probably does some audio pre-processing before shunting it into your software, your computer, right? I imagine that raw data is probably not good for encoding into a, you know, binary format or whatever. So yeah, if you feel like the stream or YouTube video, if that's what you're watching, sounds a lot better than it used to, I certainly think that it sounds a lot better than it used to. That's the reason. Firmware. It's important. So I'm trying to remember what I was talking about last time, and I think I remember, because I watched the video right after I was done streaming. I usually do that to sort of check if there's any fatal audio flaws or stuff that I could be fixing, right? I don't watch the whole thing, but I just kind of skipped at random points in the videos to just sort of check after I download it from Twitch. I don't record and stream at the same time because I'm not sure that my computer can handle it. But so I was just sort of listening to myself talk, just nodding my head in agreement. I was angry that day, wasn't it? If you're watching on YouTube, this was like 20 minutes before for you, but this was like 2 weeks ago for me, so I'm like, wow, I was really angry at people. But to be fair, I do think that a lot of what I said then, right, about being angry about developers and the sort of things that programmers will say, I do agree with myself. It's not the sort of thing where I'm looking back and being like, why did I say that? No, I know why I said that. But it probably was a bit more angry than it warranted, right? Like, I still think that they're idiots, but it probably... I don't want to make a habit of going into this sort of very angry rant. Regardless of however much they may deserve it, it's not good for me, right? For my own psyche. So I'm gonna try to be a bit more measured about that. But Jesus, like, it kind of took me aback, and I'm the one who said it. Like, I was very angry. It wasn't even that recent, the sort of thing that I was describing. I guess it really stuck with me. Well, that's why I do these streams anyway, just to wind down. And sometimes that means ranting about people who bother you, right? Speaking of winding down, I mentioned before, this end of the year has been like a very tumultuous period for me. Now, I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail about why, but I'll just say that it's been a lot of stress regarding my academic future, let's say. I'm going to this school and a bunch of stuff happened. Again, I'm not gonna go into details because I don't want to reveal too much information, right? That could be identifying. But yeah, it's just signing up for college for the next year has been a stressful thing because of many things that have happened surrounding the college, and there's been a lot of uncertainty about whether I would be able to and where and continue studying. And you know, after spending a long time just kind of making nothing of myself, it kind of felt like an imperative that I continue studying. And so you can imagine that not being sure whether I'm going to be able to, it was a bit of a stressful time. And also there was finals, it all happened to line up. Now thankfully all of my teachers were pretty graceful in just being very permissive, because it was the situation that happened, it was a whole big college-wide situation. So most of my professors were very good about being lenient with finals, more than they would have been otherwise, and so that lessened a lot of the stress, thankfully. But you know, they still were requiring me to finish the assignments and do all these things, and so you know, finals are stressful at the best of situations, and this wasn't the best of times, right? So that's why I haven't been streaming. Not that I need a reason anyway, because there have been previous times where I haven't streamed for very long, even longer than this time, right? And I haven't had a reason for those other than I just didn't feel like it. But yeah, if you were curious or wanted to know for whatever reason, that's the reason. But everything is, well, it's not perfect, it's not amazing, but it's alright now. We will keep on keeping on, right? As cliche as that is to say. I definitely like the combo system in the later games better, or at least Samurai Warriors 2 better, where the combo is like a total combo for how many enemies you hit. It's not like separate per enemy, right? It fits better this sort of game that is all about, like, you know, smashing thousands of enemies, right? Like, it's not about one-on-one duels or that sort of thing. Oh yeah, so I was talking about firmware earlier, right? Speaking of the funny ones and zeros that make your computers and devices work and do things, I've been sort of like looking into Linux lately, right? Supposedly it's gotten more friendly towards the newer user than it used to be ever, and that's partly on the back of Microsoft really dropping the ball in some things and people looking for an option, and so, you know, supply meets demand, obviously. So I just decided that I was going to start looking into it. Not that I would need it to be beginner user friendly anyways, because I feel like I myself am a pretty technologically technologically inclined person, so I probably would be able to figure it out even if it didn't. But, you know, hearing news that it supposedly had been a lot better about that stuff sort of made me start considering it more. I installed it on my side computer because, you know, I'm not ready to make a permanent change yet, so I figured I'll just use my shitty little laptop to use it as a playtest environment. And that also made me realize that I have a side computer that I had forgotten about, so I'm also using that for video storage, because god, the past streams have been taking a lot of disk space on my hard drive on this computer, right? Because, you know, video is very... it's very space. Video takes up a lot of space, no matter the format or the compression. So compared to other forms, other things that you could be storing. So yeah, I've been using it for video storage. The distro, I don't know if I'm using the right word, so any Linux heads are going to have to forgive me, but the distro that I'm using is one called Pop OS. I'm not sure if it's any good compared to the others, but I've been sort of having fun with it. I wish that it was more customizable in terms of like visual stuff, like the desktop and whatever, but I'm told that Linux, one of the wonderful things about Linux is that it's very easy to just swap your window manager, right, without having to install a whole other distro for it, right? I've been liking it, but I haven't been seeing what makes it different than other distros, which, granted, haven't ever used Ubuntu or whatever, or Arch Linux or Mint or any of the other big ones, so I wouldn't know even if I did encounter. But I also haven't been using that computer very much, right? So I'm still yet to see what's so great about it, but so far, it hasn't let me down in any way. I haven't seen anything that I didn't like. So I'm pretty neutral on it, and just the fact that it's free open source, you know, that's already a pretty big plus. Like, everything else being equal, I would go to Linux, right? Another reason for not changing though is because, well, I'm making video games, and due to the way that my college program and syllabus works, for video game development, yes, I'm pursuing a degree in that. That is obviously a great decision, no matter what, right? But yeah, because of the program that I'm in, that I signed up for, because of the way that it is, that means that I'm basically always working on a game, at least during the year when I'm not on summer break, right? So it felt a bit risky to sort of switch operating systems without knowing how stuff would work, right? Because that's a pretty big change, right? So you want to develop, like, if you're being pressured to push a game every 2 months or so, right? You sort of want to not have to deal with the developmental stresses of changing development environment like that, right? So I've been thinking about changing to Linux for a while, but I hadn't done it, and I didn't do it on my main computer for that reason, right? But then I remembered that I have a side computer, and I've been just sort of trying it. GNOME, I don't know. GNOME has some integrations with Google Drive that I've been trying out, and those haven't worked particularly well. Just downloading big files from Google Drive using that integration has turned out to be a bit of a pain. But, you know, it's impossible to know whether that's on GNOME side or Google side, and in any case, Google does give you like a little app that they do to keep those things in sync, so maybe I just won't use the native integration and use the Google provided app. If it works on Linux, which I'm not sure that it does. It probably doesn't. But somebody probably made it work. Because that's the thing about free open software. Free open source software. But yeah, if I end up not liking this Pop OS, and it's written weirdly, it's like pop !OS, that's the name. If I end up not liking it, I'm probably gonna be trying Mint next, because I've heard good things about that one. That attack on Zhangfei, this Zhangfei guy hits very hard. He does good damage, more so than other characters, but the third attack, this one, where he turns around and hits with the back of the pole, is not very good. Because it's the third charge attack, right? So that's the one that you use to send enemies flying. But the fact that it's like that it's a stab, or well, it's not a stab, it's a poke, right, with the back of the polearm, rather than a sweep, means that you only get to send enemies flying in like one direction, as opposed to other characters that just do a whole sweep to their sides, and so you get to tell every enemy around you to just get off of you, right? Zhangfei is not as good. Like, see, like that, if this was Lu Xun, that guy would not be alive. The one that hit me. Oh man, I haven't streamed in a while. This is actually pretty nice. You don't do something for a while and you forget why you like these things. I'm noticing that the mouth of my avatar just kind of isn't opening much. Do I need to emote more? Maybe it's just because I placed the camera differently. Or maybe it's my light source. Hold on. What if I put it here? This better? Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. It's a bit better. Let's try that. Really, what I should be buying is like a ring light, one of those that like annoying bloggers use. Because right now this is a very ratchet, just sort of low budget sort of way to do it. I'm using the flashlight on my phone, and I don't have like a phone stand or anything, so it's just kind of leaned against my monitor. It goes down at any time, right? And also, it's sort of blinding me, right? Because it's pointed directly at my face, but I gotta do that so that the fucking VTube Studio face recognition actually does it. Fucking, it knows what faces I'm making. I've said this many times. If I had an iPhone, I would be using better face recognition. And then I could fucking make do the whole, whatchamacallit? Do the whole audio recognition for the mouth too. And I wouldn't have to do to have it recognize my mouth all the time. It could just recognize the noises that I'm making. There are better ways to do face recognition, but you know. There's probably better software for fucking live 2D animatable rigs. Or there's probably better software for hooking that to face recognition. But I don't know. Like, I don't know what setup everybody else is using. I'm pretty sure that Lime Salicious uses VTube Studio. I think I heard her say that. So VTube Studio can't be too bad, right? I mean, if it's good enough for her, then I think it's safe to say that, you know, however bad my model may look, it's not due to the software that I'm using, right? I mean, I made this rig myself, and like in 2 days, so out of a shitty drawing that I made like some 7 years ago. So like, if it looks a bit bad, that's kind of par for the course, honestly. But I mean, that's what I do. That's kind of my philosophy with these kind of things, with these sort of creative things. It's just like, if you keep expectations low, then you can always surprise people. And I don't mean in terms of like self-deprecating and being like, oh, this is really bad, guys, don't watch it, right? I mean in terms of like the presentation. The presentation of a thing tempers your expectations for what that thing will be. And so if you are good about the way that you present something, then you can always have control over just how much you want to stand out in things, which is why which is what I do with a lot of the games that I do, right? Like a lot of them, I don't really go hard on the art and stuff like that, because I know that that's not my strong suit. So I'd rather use a style that is more eye-catching without requiring that much effort. It's why I like using a lot of collages of faces and stuff, right? Or, like I did with Topsy, which I developed on stream, and the videos are uploaded onto YouTube. Just doing this purposefully sketch-like, badly drawn art style, right? Where you use simple images drawn over and over on top of each other, so that the lack of precision in the drawings gives it just sort of a animated, hand-drawn look, despite being pixel art, right? That sort of thing. If you can figure out ways that you can make whatever low skills that you have work, then I feel like that adds a lot more than being really good or trying to be really good at every single part of the process. Like, you find ways that your shortcomings become strengths in some way or another, which sounds really stupid. It sounds like fucking some dumb, contradictory self-help bullshit when you say it like that, but I genuinely believe that. Like, it's not about making your shortcomings into strengths, but it's about knowing to... Because obviously all of my games would be better if they had like a really good art style that I can't manage, right? It's not like my games are better because I'm bad at art. But it's a way to, more than making your shortcomings into strengths, it's about like getting as much juice out of your skill level as you can, no matter what it may be. But you know, like this VTuber avatar, right? I'm terrible at drawing, so I didn't try to draw. I didn't try to commission somebody to draw me something because I wanted to learn how to do it myself. I knew that I was bad at rigging, so I decided to use a bad drawing that I made. And so that gives it this sort of look that I think works, where it's like, it's all very, you know, self-made, very rustic, and I learned how these avatar things work, right? And sort of vaguely how to make one, which was my whole objective. And then the thing that I made also doesn't look like a half-finished piece of shit thing that somebody made because they were learning and they dropped, but rather it looks like a thing, right? It looks like it's done this way on purpose, right? It's not good, but it has a style, it has a look that it's going for. Right? That's sort of the thing that I mean. I mean, you gotta think, like, people... I make video games, right? So this is the comparison that I'm eager to draw. Like, people back in the N64 days, they probably wished that they had, like, 20,000 times more RAM, but they didn't. And so they did the best that they could with what they had. And so you come out with all of these techniques that are, like, you know, enhance the thing by making use of the limitations, and that's how you get Silent Hill, right? With its fog, with its incredibly atmospheric stylistic choice for the fog, being a limitation, a hardware limitation about render distance, right? You get stuff like that sort of thing, right? So, you know, it's good to be inspired by your own shortcomings, inspired, like, you know, if you know that you can't reach the stars, then maybe don't aim for them. But, you know, you can aim somewhere closer, somewhere to the side, right? So I was like, remember the thing I said about my studies and about how I'm studying like video game design and such, right? Due to the whole situation that I mentioned about the end of my studies and everything, due to how all of that shook out, it is very likely that I won't be making games as often as I have been for the last 2 years, which is a bit of a shame. I wish it wasn't that way. I'm still gonna try, but it's looking like my studies and my school is not going to be as conducive towards that, especially if I end up getting a part-time job, which I feel like I kind of need, and I'm hoping I can get one. So that's a shame. If you're a follower of my itch.io page, which is ssoar.itch.io, I host all of my games there. And also Newgrounds. I have one on Newgrounds actually that I haven't uploaded to itch because I'm hoping to make some final modifications. But yeah, I'm probably going to be uploading games a bit less often. I'll try to let it not be the case. I'll try, right? And I'll probably be streaming the development process of those, but that's going to be a bit of a time commitment that I'm not going to be sure I'm going to be able to afford. We'll have to see. A lot of stuff is still uncertain. So if you were looking forward to those games, sorry. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that I actually end up able to produce more games, because that's really what I like doing. And across these last 2 years, it's been very little more satisfying than we've seen this cutscene plenty of times. There's little that hasn't been more satisfying than being able to look at my itch page and see all the stuff that I've worked on, even things that I think are not really good anymore. Right? There's some bad games there that if I would make again, I would change a lot of things. They would look completely different. Shaunji Cake in particular, right? But still, just having something, right, has been very motivating, and it's a shame that it won't be that way that much anymore. So hopefully I'm wrong. I can't speak. Actually, I'll go get a bottle. I'll go get some water because I forgot to fill my. Oh no! Actually, here it is. Never mind. I have a bottle of water. Right. So here's something that I want you to know. First of all, I'm not wearing pants because it's extremely hot, and also my windows are closed in this heat, right? My windows are closed, my door is closed, because I'm making a lot of noise and I live in in a shitty third world country ass neighborhood where everybody can hear you, so I like to have everything just a bit closed off, right? What was I saying? Oh yeah. My point is, it's very hot. I live in the southern hemisphere, so we're just coming into summer. It hasn't started yet. It starts tomorrow. Actually, it starts tomorrow. It's summer. It's starting to be summer, and it's very hot, and I'm sweating. And since I have to close the doors and the windows and everything in order to stream, my room gets a bit hot, and I'm gonna take a break in a little bit just to sort of open the windows for a little bit, right? So I just want you to know, that's the state that I'm in. I'm starting to sweat, and it's not very pleasant. So I hope you appreciate that I do this for you. No, I don't. I have nobody to view me. There's no you to do this for. I do this for myself because I like streaming. And more than streaming, I like having footage of the stuff that I'm doing, of the games that I'm playing, that I can put it up later, right? I also like talking. I like talking about stuff that's been going on, and I don't really get that much of a chance because I don't meet that many other people. Yes, I know, touch grass, fucking get a friend already, etc., right? But we live in a modern digital age where awful people like me can still pretend that they have a social life by talking to invisible people who are not even there on Twitch, right? I'm joking, I do have friends. But it's not the same, you know? God, that sounds like I'm coping, right? Doesn't it? I do have friends, I swear, guys. I don't need to touch grass. You need to touch grass. Hey, if you don't want to believe me, you can just not believe me. That's fine. It is not like I'm particularly attached to my own image in here. Open the door. Oh god damn it, fucking archers. So I'm just sort of making the guess that this playthrough with this character, with Zhang Fei, is going to be a bit more difficult because I've been finding it very hard to land the combos that'll get me the better upgrade materials. So I think my stats are going to be a lot lower once I get to the last stage. So not looking forward to that. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully I get better at the comboing. He just has a bit of an awkward combo chain. I haven't really figured it out yet. Oh god, camera. Oh hey, speaking of camera, you know what game I've been playing lately off stream, right? You haven't been able to see that. Partly because I don't have a capture card, but also because it's not the kind of game that I would want to play on here. I've been playing Sekiro. And it's a good game. It's an amazing game, right? I haven't played most of the other FromSoft titles. I played Dark Souls a little bit, but it didn't really grab me, right? But I got told by some people that Sekiro is like pretty different, and so that it may be worth trying. So I did, and it's been pretty good. It's been very fun. It's a really good game. However, and I'm told that this is the case in pretty much every FromSoft game. So if that is true, God, what a shame, right? The camera in that game is, I wouldn't say it's awful, like it works, right? It's functional most of the time, but it has some glaring issues that pop up in some really annoying places that just sort of make you wonder, right? Like, the game is so clever and so good in pretty much every other aspect. How do you fuck up the camera that bad? Like, the camera is worse than... I would say that the camera is worse than fucking Mario Sunshine in some respects, right? Here's the particular complaint that I have. And here's the thing. If you know that you have a bad camera, why wouldn't you design environments that complement it a bit better, right? Because like some of those battle arenas are just like it seemingly made for your camera to just be difficult, right? Or not even the battle arenas, but the combination of the battle arenas and the boss itself, right? Because the size of the boss that you're fighting does play a role into it. Some of those combinations just seem terrible. The one that comes to mind as just the worst experience has been the fight against the two monkeys, right? When you fight the headless ape, the later you go underground and you fight two headless apes, right? One that is just the actual headless ape and the other one that is just like a summoned head full ape that, you know, you gotta fight both at the same time, and it's kind of like fighting both faces of the headless ape at the same time. It's a whole fight, right? I would say that was my least favorite fight, other than the ball. But the camera, man, the camera was awful in that fight. It was so terrible, right? And meanwhile, there are other arenas, other boss fight arenas that just are clever enough. Like, you know, the place where you fight what's his name? Lightning guy. I forget. He was Ashina, something Ashina, guy that throws the lightning at you. The first time. Ah, fuck, what's his name? I completely forgot it. That arena, the one at the top of the castle, right? That one is cleverly made so that to prevent the camera from being a huge issue, right? Because the sides are open, so the camera doesn't get snagged into the walls, right? So even if you're at the edge of the stage, there's enough extra space to the sides that lets the camera be there, right? And so it doesn't just go right up to your ass as you're trying to look at the boss, right? When you're locked onto them, right? And so it's pretty clever there, right? Like it doesn't. The problems don't happen really that much in those arenas. They still happen a little bit, particularly when the bosses jump. If you're too close to them, the camera will try to follow them because you're locked on, and it's like, couldn't we have made a trigger to make the camera go further from you, right? It's just, it's not the worst camera that I've ever seen, right? Obviously. But it's just strikingly bad in a game that is otherwise all good, right? And that's what's frustrating about it, right? is that the game is so good that it deserves a better camera. Another problem spot for the camera is after the invasion on the Ashina, right? There's the Serpent Shrine, right? If you go through the castle, you come out the other side, and there's one path that leads down, and that leads you sort of backwards to a broken bridge. If you take the path to the side before it starts going down, you reach eventually a place that they call the Serpent Shrine, and if you keep going, it's a place where you can keep going down, right? But in the shrine itself, there is a boss there after the invasion, and he's pretty much just one of the purple guys, you know, the ones that kick you, the ones that just sort of attack you with one arm, with like a health bar. It's a mini boss, right? That box is, again, it seems purposefully designed to snag your camera, right? To just make your camera just freak out. You want to fight him outside of the house that he finds himself in. You want to fight him outside of the shrine anyway, so I can believe that letting him out of the shrine is sort of the intended response, but it shouldn't be because of the camera, right? It should be because, like, that just feels like the game is not working properly, right? It kind of takes you out of it. If you're supposed to not want to fight him there and just have to play a little bit clever to try to lure him out, it should be because fighting close quarters with that guy is not really a good idea, right? In my opinion, anyway. Like, if it's because of the camera, if it's because of a game system, and not really because of a, you know, an actual, the condition of the combat itself, it feels a bit cheap. But then, even if you do lure him out, the place outside with all of the trees, the camera also doesn't like that place. Like, it's better because there's more space to move around, but the camera is still not very good there. And that's, again, for a game that's usually so good, that's just disappointing. And it's more disappointing that seemingly, and again, this is from what people tell me because I haven't played any of those games, this is a problem that has followed FromSoft for a while, right? Like, they're legendary developers, they shouldn't have this down. They shouldn't be outshined by fucking Mario Sunshine, you know what I mean? With, like, the thing that the Mario games have, where, like, if the camera goes too close to one wall, the camera will go through the wall, and then there'll be, like, a little vignette of transparency that'll let you see the character. I find myself begging for that feature whenever I'm playing Sekiro, right? That's not the only solution, there are other ways that you could do it, but, yeah, it's just the camera in those games, man. Or in Sekiro, that's the only one that I can speak from experience. It's just, there's some places where it gets really bad. It's not bad all the time, you know? I haven't finished the game yet. Oh god, I'm running pretty low here. Oh god, no. Can I reach an 8 combo just from standing Musou? Yeah, I can. Okay. That's pretty good. That's good to know. And I missed some hits in between there too, so... So it's not like I need to hit every single one. There's some good leeway there. Okay, so I should be relying on the Musou attack way more if I want those. Oh man, I miss winter so much. It was so much easier to stream when I wasn't like feeling like I was melting. See, here's the thing, I could open the windows, but that wouldn't make it that much better. It would be better for sure, but it wouldn't be like a lot better because it's just a hot day. Pain. Did I grab? I'm wondering, did I grab the life pickup on the previous page? Surely I did, right? Like, yes, like, on last stream before I... Oh god, here we go. It's freaking out. It's just really funny to me how... And I've said this many times, right? But it's just really funny to me how the game is perfectly fine with rendering like 2000 soldiers, but there's this transparent cube, and the emulator just can't. It just fucking can't. And honestly, why does that cube even exist? Like, why is it not just a... I mean, I know the answer, right? Because it's kind of obvious. Why isn't the cube just a texture? Why did it need to be a fully rendered cube? And the reason is, they were proud of it. They were proud of it. There's no way that they weren't, because this sort of fucking semi-transparent shit in 3D rendering has always been a thing. It's always been, you know. Okay, so I want to get a defense up from this guy, so... Let's hope they don't kill him. Man, Jackface combo really hard. God, I just can't even catch him. There you go. Okay, that's an 8 at least. If I can just make sure that I always have the Muso bar charged, then I'll be able to get a +2 on everything at the very least. Hey, hopefully I don't die like 7 times like I did that one time, huh? That was purely because I was out of practice, and given that it's been a while since the last time I streamed, that may be the case right now too. But this is one of the early stages, so it shouldn't be that much of a problem. This is one of the longest ones, though, or at least it feels like it is. Because it's a lot of just pushing, right? At least the others, even if they are longer or just as long, you're making more decisions, it feels like. Which, I mean, is good. Like, if you're doing only one Muso mode, then it's good, because the difficulty in just sort of decision-making sort of ramps up over time as you play, but when you're doing these back-to-back, you sort of really start to notice how mindless the early stages are. Was this game even made so that you could, like, so that you would beat it like this? I don't think it was, to be honest. But I'm having fun trying to beat it with every character. Don't get me wrong, this is a silly thing to do. There's way too many and they play mostly the same. They get differentiated, they get better differentiated later on in the series, but right now they're not radically different. Oh, that was a +4, that was nice. Okay, I think I'm starting to sort of get it. It does rely a bit too much on there being nobody to bother me, which in this fucking game there never is, but, you know. I can get it. I can get it if I try. Actually, I don't need to kill these guys. They have 0 morale. They're just gonna... If I push forward, then my eyelids are gonna catch up easy. I just gotta stop once they... yeah. Once they start seeing the stars. Oh, I had a stream idea. Tell me if you like it, right? Because I think it's kind of funny. I've already gotten somebody to say that they agree that it is funny, but I want to get more opinions. The idea is, I play an idle game, you know, sort of like Cookie Clicker or that sort of game. But every time I go more than 20 seconds without having anything to do, because you know how those games are, right? They start spacing out a lot more, right? And whenever I spend more than 20 seconds without having anything to do, I open another one. A different idle game, right? There's enough that I could just do that forever. And then, from then on, I'm playing them both at the same time, right? So eventually, I would reach the point where I'm playing like simultaneously 5 or 7 games, and I'm constantly making decisions, and it doesn't die down. And if it does, just start up another one. They have to be different idle games, though. So the idea would be to just have them ready, to just have idle games that are not completely fucking trash. Which, I mean, that argument could be made for them always being trash, but some of them have something to them, right? So I would have to get a good list of idle games that I just sort of trust, and I have a couple that I actually like, right? So it would be gathering a few more like that. And then I would need to get a stream set up that lets me play like 7 games at the same time. So that would be a bit difficult. I'd have to figure out how to order them on the screen. But maybe just them being very chaotic is part of the charm of the idea, right? So maybe I shouldn't even try that hard to make it look nice. Maybe it's better if it doesn't, right? Worst case scenario, I can just open them in different tabs and then they don't show up at the same time. I just highlight the one that I want to play. But ideally, I'd have a setup where I could just sort of, where we could just sort of watch one minimized while we check out the other one. I think that it's a funny idea. And I get to show you some idle games that I like, because that's the thing about idle games. Like, it's really easy to dismiss them, but some of them actually do a fair amount with the concept, right? Like, Universal Paperclips is one that comes to mind that I really like. It's an idle game with a very clear... Well, it's not clear while you're playing it, but with a very set, definite end goal. That once you reach it, the game is done, right? And it won't pretend to keep going. And plus, the game is enjoyable in how it just introduces and gets rid of new and old systems in order to keep everything very fresh. Like, the game that you're playing at the beginning is not at all the game that you're playing 3/4 of the way in, right? So it's just very good in that regard. Evolve Idle is one that I've been playing for a while. The game is pretty boring, but it has such a breadth of possibilities and options that, you know, it just really lends itself to the idle format, and it's very clever in the way that it presents certain things. Another one that I like is Candy Box, which just, it doesn't even seem like it's an idle game at the beginning, and then it slowly unfolds. It doesn't switch gears in the way that Universal Paperclips does, but it just, by the end, it sort of becomes like an adventure game that sort of reminds you of stuff like Myst or old point-and-click games that you would find a lot of on fucking Flash websites, right? Oh, you know what's another game that I want to play on Steam? I want to play Epic Battle Fantasy. Epic Battle Fantasy is a sort of parody-ish Flash game. And I played the free version of Epic Battle Fantasy 5 on Congregate a few years back, and I was honestly impressed, because when it comes to JRPGs and just really just solo or indie developed JRPGs, they have like a tendency to become way too complicated, right? Of having way too many systems and just being really unbalanced, right? And balancing a JRPG is very difficult, don't get me wrong, right? And so there's a tendency to just have a JRPG that is either way too simple and all you do is attack and hit type vulnerabilities, like, you know, oh, fucking use the fire attacks against the enemy that's weak to fire, and that's literally all there is to the game, right? Like Pokemon Red or something. Not that Pokemon Red is a bad game, but like, you know. Or they are just way too complicated and they don't present themselves very well. And at first glance, Epic Battle Fantasy V, which is the one that I played, just sort of seems like it's gonna be that. Like, there's all these stats, all these weaknesses, all these systems and subsystems, but actually the game is pretty good about telling you and leading you into how you should be playing it. Like, the characters are, despite having these many stats, they're pretty distinctive in what they're good at and what they're not. And you get a pretty good idea of what you should be doing early on if you're paying attention. Right? And you know how to read percentages, which, you know, surprisingly trips some people up. People are bad at probability, man. Probability is one of those things that is way simpler, but, or rather, that seems like it should be very simple, and it just kind of isn't for most people. So yeah, I like Epic Battle Fantasy V. I would like to play the first ones, although I would be expecting Epic Battle Fantasy 1 to be a lot worse because, well, it's the first one, right? Also, you can click on the red girl's boobs and they jiggle. I'm not gonna say whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm just saying that that's a thing. But it's certainly a good thing. Come on. I mean, the drawings are not particularly sexy, so it just sort of comes across as funny. I mean, I'm sure somebody's into her. But it's not the sort of thing that you look at it and you go like, oh yeah, you know, she was made for this purpose, you know what I mean? It's just a pretty alright, it's just a pretty good character design. Okay, I'm getting the handle of these combos a lot better now, so I'm probably not going to be having trouble later on with the stat. Hopefully, right? I mean, I'm only playing on normal anyway. I have nothing to prove by playing on hard. Especially because I already beat this game on hard, like, a while back. Not on stream, I didn't do it on stream. But, yeah, I beat this game on hard, and it was fun, but I couldn't do more than one character like that. You know what I mean? Like, they are... It gets really hard. It would be super tedious to try to do every character, right? Like, it's super tedious. So if I'm gonna be doing every character like I'm doing, it has to be on normal or easy. Easy is a bit too easy, so I'm fine with doing normal. It's not that difficult on normal, so long as you're, you know, getting enough stats. Like, that's really the biggest concern. Okay, let's go save the guys from Hull. There he is, it's Lubu. I'm not gonna be trying to beat him this time. The only reason I did last time was because Lu Xun's fucking infinite combo was way too good. I've been checking the videos on the VODs on my YouTube channel, right? And I realized that I've been doing the order wrong. Like, I meant to sort of balance it with each kingdom, right? So I would do like one Shu kingdom character, then one Wei kingdom character, then one Wu kingdom character, and then I would just start looping like that. but I started Zhang Fei after doing Lu Xun, and before Lu Xun I did Guan Yu. So that's 2 Shu guys without a way in between. So yeah, that order is completely compromised now. Hopefully I will not unbalance it too hard so that I won't end up having to do way too many of the same kingdom in a row, right? But we will have to see about that. Oh, come on. See, that's what I mean about that attack. Please don't block it. God damn it, he's blocking it. Whatever. I just want a +2. Yeah, that's a +2. Good. It's a good thing I'm recording these, because otherwise I would forget which ones I've done and which ones I haven't. I mean, you can know which ones you did by looking at their stats. Like, if they have high stats at all, then you've probably done it, but it's nice to just be sure, you know? Because it's theoretically possible to just not, for your stats to not go up very much, even after a Musou mod. It probably won't happen, but it's theoretically possible, right? So it's nice to have the assurance. The reason I keep the videos, right? I download the videos from Twitch and then I keep them, is because I want to do a time lapse of me playing these games once I'm done with them, right? I like doing that. I've done that for like a Mario game that I played. What's it called? It's Mario 2, right? But the Japanese one. It's Mario. What's it called? It's just called. No, it's just called Mario 2, right? Originally, at least. It's called later on the Lost Levels, but yeah, it's Mario 2. So I've done that for Mario 2. I'm hoping to do that with this, but you know, with all the characters that this has, that's going to be like some. What is it like? If I'm taking around 5 hours per each Musou mode, and there's at least 20 characters, so that will be like. What's 20 times 5? That would be like 100 hours, over 100 hours of footage, right? It takes a lot of storage space. So I'm glad that now I have like a secondary hard drive that I can store all that on. Had to learn to do like MD5 checksum checking, which isn't difficult at all, right? But I had to learn so that I could be really sure that I wasn't losing the videos as I transferred them, because I'm a bit paranoid about that. When the transfer takes more than, 5 minutes, you don't want to just delete it without being sure. Checksums, very useful things for being sure of corruption. It turns out that a couple of times it did corrupt. That's how I noticed that the drive option for GNOME was not the best. I mean, like, I don't think it's the fault of the integration. Like, I think Google Drive just sort of freaks out if it takes too long to receive a package, right? And since these are audio files that weigh like 4 or 5 gigs, it can take a bit. It doesn't freak out if it's on the website, but it does if it's from a third-party thing, probably just some API bullshit going on. Shouldn't the gate be down? Isn't there a guy that we need to kill? Hello? What's going on? Where's Hwaxiong? Hwaxiong is there. Did he glitch on top of the wall? Oh, he totally did. He's It's not supposed to be there. Is the gate open? No, it's not. Okay, I'm gonna have to... Oh, but if he's on top of the wall, then he's not gonna... Okay, I'm gonna have to pull back. I'm gonna have to pull back outside of its rendering zone. And either wait for my allies to kill him, or just hope that when I come back, he's not gonna be on top of the wall anymore. God, how did that even happen? That's an odd glitch. Hey, you want shell? You want shell? Please don't be on top of the wall. God damn it, he is. He totally is. Let me in. Let me in. Okay, you know what I could do? Because I don't know how long it's gonna take these guys to kill him, and they may not even get to. So I'm gonna go around and help Cao Cao's force. That's probably the right way to do it this time. God, what a weird thing to happen. Honestly, given that it can happen, I'm surprised that it didn't happen before. It would be interesting to see this game decompiled and just be able to look at the code. I'd love to see how they solve certain things. That the programmer in me is curious. I'm not so curious that I would do it myself, though. Assembly code. Decompiled assembly code. Decompiled assembly code is difficult to read, so... There are other things that I would rather do with my time. Some people, though, really do that. Like, they go big on decompiling source code from, like, NES cartridges. And then seeing what's on there and commenting it so that we all can know how it was programmed and everything. It's a pretty fun topic. I actually had to check one of those when I was trying to do a certain thing for Final Fantasy 1 on the NES. I wanted a little program that, and don't ask me why, right? Because I don't remember, and if I did, I still remember that it was pretty boring. But I just wanted to make a little script, a little Lua script running on the emulator that could show on screen the name of a spell as it was used, right? And in order to do that, you have to know what memory address holds the spell that is currently being used, and what memory address gets triggered, gets read as code, right, gets executed when a spell is run, right? And so you check the memory address that holds the name of the spell that's being cast every time that that memory address is run, and if it returns the values that are, you know, correspond to a valid spell, then you check that up against a library and then print the right name of the spell on screen, right? It's easy stuff. But the problem is that you have to know those memory addresses, and the only way to know that is by having the source code decompiled, right? Or by being really good with cheat engine, right? Or the cheating tools that the emulators provide. If you're really good with those, you can check it, but if not, then you have to check source code. And so I had a fun time just sort of going there and remembering how to read assembly code, which I had to do for college like 7 years back. Well, I had to learn to write it, but in order to learn to write it, you learn how to read it. Not all assembly code is the same, but it all looks sort of similar. So, you know, if you have a web page that has every single instruction for the chipset, then you can read it pretty easily if you know what you're doing. You know what's nice about like playing old games like this is that you get to say that you're the one of the top streamers, even sometimes the top streamer in the category on Twitch. For this one, it doesn't happen so much, but for Task 1, for sure, any given day that I stream it, I'm probably going to be the top. It's a very meaningless ego boost that you get, right? I've cornered the market. I'm the only source. What are you gonna do? I can set the price that I want. It's a monopoly, baby. I own these streets. I briefly considered doing an Italian accent, right? And then I remember that I just can't do accents. Like at all. I have one accent and it's this one. It's not even a good English accent, it's just, you know. It's a vaguely Hispanic accent. It's not even a full Hispanic accent because thankfully I've managed to get rid of the most notorious aspects of it. I just don't like having a foreigner accent, you know? People's impressions of you get colored, and I'd rather they didn't, at least not just not listening to me, right? For 2 seconds. And plus foreign accents, like accents of non-native English speakers, are just literally saying words wrong. I mean, I realize that that's what an accent is, but I'd rather say things right. Even beyond so much as what is necessary to aid in understanding. Because I very rarely have an issue where people, on account of my accent, can't make out what I'm saying, right? English particularly is pretty good about that sort of thing. Like, there's enough leeway because words are very different from each other. Well, actually, every language has something like that, but I find that English is pretty easy to just mangle a word very hard and still have it be understood. More so than Spanish, right? So maybe that's aiding me, but even then I still want to just say things more correctly, right? And just have the accent not be that prominent. Ultimately, you can't ever get rid of the entirety of it. Or, well, some people can actually with like practice, but this is not a thing that I'm willing to like put a lot of very conscientious practice into, right? But I find that I've managed to get rid of the most standing out aspects of it, right? Like, people can still tell, but it takes a while, right? So I'm very glad for that. My first language, in case you're wondering, it's Spanish. No, I wanted the +4. I was just missing one hit. And people can absolutely tell that I don't speak English as a native language a lot of the time, but that's mostly due to word choice, and even that has been going down lately. I've had several people tell me that they just couldn't tell at all until I said something about, you know, being ESL. So that's like a pretty good achievement, but that's mostly been through written interactions, right? Now that's not to say that people didn't notice that I said some things weird, but mostly they assumed that it was a regional dialect. They didn't immediately jump to the idea of English as a second language, right? Like, you know, it's the sort of thing where, like, I could have told them that I was from, like, in upstate New York, and they would have probably been like, oh, I guess that's how they speak there, and not thought about it twice. Or maybe they're just being nice. It is possible that they're lying to me to be nice. But to be fair, with these people, these are people that I trust to not be like that, so... These guys really haven't killed that guy, huh? They haven't opened the gate. God, what a weird sequence break on this one. I mean, it's good. It's good to shake things up when it's like your 8th time doing this stage in Muso mode, right? So I'm glad, in a way, I'm glad that things are shaking up a bit. He landed on the boxes, so I couldn't land the combo. Drink more water. Does my avatar look super weird when I do that? Because I have the puddle obscuring my face for a bit. Oh no, it just sort of goes to default pose. That's good. Actually, is the... Oh, the model is... No, what's the point? Hold on. I just realized an issue with the stream overlay. The VTuber model is on top of the... There you go. That's how it should be. Like, it shouldn't be on top of the overlay. It should be like this. I shouldn't be zooming in this much anyway, but like, you know, if you're gonna do picture-in-picture, then, you know, can't have it be like that. Just sort of looks a bit bad. Well, that's my opinion anyway. Oh no, it's down. It's down. I want to go down. South, not down. Is there another... No, there isn't. Okay, so we can just sort of kill time and kill guys here. Did they open the gate? Is that the guy that they had to kill to open the gate? Because I saw it said that they killed the guy. Although it also said that it was my force, so maybe it was the guy that I just killed before. I just thought of something. I could probably draw and place a little Christmas hat, just like a little Santa hat on this model. You know, for Christmas, just a week away. I am so happy about this information. It's Christmas! Wow! Can you believe it? Christmas! Just in a week! It came so fast! Just a week away! I love that video, so stupid. Fucking archers! Oh wait, they killed him. No, I wanted to do that. Fine. Okay, so yeah, Fan Shui Gate hasn't fallen because Cao Cao made the dialogue to wait for it to do. So I don't think they're gonna take it down. I think it's glitched. They're just gonna stay there if I let them. So I'm gonna have to... Oh, but the problem is that if I try to go this way, Cao Cao is not going to follow. He's just gonna stay here. So I'm gonna... This is gonna be slow. God damn it. I shouldn't have done that. I should have grabbed this one instead, because it will heal me anyway. And then I get to, and I still gotta save, so. Okay, so at least now I have a checkpoint. So from here on, I'm gonna have to go solo on this one. These guys don't have any morale, so it'll be fine. I could just go way deep and immediately try to open the gate so that I can get with allies, but I don't think that's a good idea. Okay, they're still sending a couple people. The officers are just not gonna be kind. Can I kill him? Does this kill him? Yes, it does. Okay, good. Okay, this wasn't as long actually. This is a pretty clear opening. I don't want to kill this guy first, I want to kill the other one. So this is the guy who should be at the other side of the gate. We kill him, the gate will open. So... or it should. But maybe it glitched out even that much. No, I don't think it would have. The only thing that glitched out was his position. I doubt that the trigger for opening the gate is broken. I don't see any reason why it would be. Just kind of wanted to deal with the archers because they were annoying me. Oh, I want that. Come look at. That should open the gate. There you go. Finally. Okay, so allies should be coming that way now, so it shouldn't be as difficult. However, I don't want them to kill Israel before I get a chance to kill this guy. Okay, not the +4 I wanted, but it's still good. Some healing, there we go. Oh, that's fine. So the thing about drinking lots of water is that it makes you pee a lot, so... Oh, I also need to refill this bottle, so... Give me a second, I'll be right back. Actually, I'll leave you with the game's music. Just... There we go. Okay, now it makes sense. Okay, we're back. You may be wondering, why don't I turn on the AC? Is it because it is too loud and if you're so hot, why don't you turn on the AC? Is it because it's too loud and it'll show up in the mic? No, it's because I don't have AC, because I live in a country that doesn't believe in it. But to be fair, it's not so much a cultural thing that you don't have AC as much as it is just a money thing. Like, it's not that people, it's not like in other places where people are like, ooh, you know, we don't need AC. It's more like everybody would like to have AC, but it's sort of seen as just this really needless expense. And to be fair, it doesn't get that hot where I live. It gets hot enough to be uncomfortable, but it's not like Arizona hot, you know what I mean? It's not gonna be like 40 Celsius anytime soon. Like, it may be, but like for one day a year, you know? At least where I live. I'm sure some other places in the country do get that hot. And people probably are more open to having AC in those places. Okay, that didn't take as long as I thought it would with the glitch, with the guy glitching on the other side of the gate. Actually, shouldn't it be about time for the surprise attack? I should make sure that I have a horse for that. I do not have a horse for that. Okay, let's just try to get one later. This stage is always a bit frustrating like that. Like, I can have a horse for the entire stage, and just as the surprise attack is about to come, I realize that I lost it at some point. That's purely my fault. It's not like the stage is frustrating. Is that I'm bad at keeping track of the damn horse. But for some reason, it seems to only have it on this stage. Need to kill these guards so that they drop something. There you go. No, that's not what I wanted to do. I shouldn't have done that. That's fine. Oh, he recovered all his... Goddamn. Oh, I see another one. There it is. There you go, there's the surprise attack. Let's go back. Issue is not having a horse, so this is gonna take a bit. Oh, I forgot to take the bonus thing. I forgot to take the little cake. Good thing about that surprise attack. I would have totally forgotten if I didn't have to come back here. There you go, life up. probably gonna be dropping a game on itch.io, but I gotta fix a couple things. That's my end of the year project for school, so at the end it got a little bit rushed, so I want to fix a couple of things. I dropped it on Newgrounds already, but I'm probably gonna update it there as well, so that I can make those fixes. They're mostly design fixes, not really technical fixes, although there are some things that could be fixed, but I don't want to put in the extra effort to copy them. I just have a thing that I realized that I should do based on feedback from playtesters, so I want to do that because it's a pretty easy thing to fix. Well, really, it's already done technically. I just have to make sure that it actually works and apply it to the web version, because you know, I was working on a mobile version for the presentation because that was one of the stipulations. But really, it's just it's I want it to be browser based. Well, that's a tip from me to you if you're publishing games as solo, right? Unless you have an advertising budget behind you, and probably even if you do, actually, a good technique to get people to play your game when you post it on itch, right, or on any site, is to make sure that the game is playable in browser, right? I'm sure that your game is a lot better when you download it, but the people who are browsing like the newest games tag on websites are not going to be a lot patient with you. Like, if your game looks interesting enough to click, they're not necessarily going to be interested in downloading it, because then you have to extract it and all that stuff. It's only a couple clicks, but every little click matters, right? Like, if you are trying to reach an audience that is not captive already, right? If you're trying to reach an audience that is like not exactly interested in what you're doing beforehand, somebody who's just passing by, you want to make it as easy for them to play your game as possible. Ideally, they should have looked at an image of your game for 2 seconds and the game is already started up. It's a thing that they do in mobile ads as well, where like they will the ad won't be an ad for the game, it'll just be like the game starts up, right? Or a simpler version of the game that lets you play it for like the 20 seconds that the mobile ad is playing, right? Now, obviously, that's super annoying because it's an ad that is interrupting something else that you were doing on your phone, but if it's on itch and you're looking for people who are already browsing just sort of your game, you want to make it that as soon as they click your page, your game is already starting up, to the extent that's possible, right? So browser versions for games really aid you a lot in that, right? Because they don't have to download anything. Obviously, for mobile games, that doesn't quite work. If something is really reliant on, you know, the accelerometer, then you don't really get to do that. But, you know, for most things, just have a browser version. It's really good. Like, you see the difference. Granted, it's not a huge difference, but the games that are browser playable for me get like 5 views sometimes, 10 when they're just posted, something like 20, 30 when they're just posted, and they get, out of those 20, 30 page views, they get like 5 plays. The ones that are downloadable, you know how many? They get like 2 or 1, sometimes even none. So yeah, it works. It works pretty hard. It noticeably works. Obviously, this is a thing that scales up, right? So like the difference between 10 plays and 2 is not that big, but you would notice the difference between, say, 1,000 and 20, between 1,000 plays and 20 plays. You know, you really want to make it available as easily as possible. These guys killed a bunch of people, and now I don't get the items from them. That sucks. I didn't realize that their morale was so high. Meanwhile, I was just fucking pulling back and just killing some random enemies. Actually, Yuan Shao is at 4 morale. That's unusual. Usually at this point he's at 0. He probably could have dealt with those guys on his own. That's unusual. Man, this stage has turned out to be pretty weird in a couple of ways. Oh yeah, so, you know, anybody watching probably doesn't remember by now, but a thing that I was checking out one time was wondering about the voice acting. Because this game has English voice acting, very little of it, right? There's very little voices in this game, other than like heart sounds, right, and whatever. But there is English voice acting. There is, like, when you select a character on the screen, and in the very few cutscenes that there are, there's characters who speak and they speak in English. And so I was wondering about, like, Sun Shangxiang, right? This was long ago. This was back when I was playing with her, and I noticed that when she gets hit, she says "ita," right? Which is Japanese. It's Japanese. It means like it hurts, right? Well, it doesn't actually. It's just like it's a pain exclamation. I don't know if it actually means it hurts or if it's just a sound, but it's an exclamation of pain. But it is like very Japanese, right? And so I was wondering, like, wait, how come they have a Japanese voice actress? How come they have an English voice actress, but they didn't have them record the pain sounds, right? And the thing that I realized, right? I don't remember if I said this on stream, but I think that I realized later on when checking things was that the voice lines for Sun Shangxiang are not the same in Japanese as they are in English. They're the same recording, but in the English, the audio is pitched up. Or pitched down. No, it's pitched down. It's pitched down in order to better match the English voice actress that they got. Right? The actual Japanese game has... It's the same noise, but it's sped up and pitched up. Which I thought was pretty... It's pretty weird. Like, honestly. Surely they could have just spent 5 more minutes in the recording booth and have the lady that they got for the English voice to just go, ooh, you know? I don't think it would have been that expensive, but maybe she just... Maybe the people who did the voices just weren't really good at that, and they decided that it would sound better if they just didn't do that. That's my theory. And to be fair, those kind of pain sounds are a bit... They can come across real cheesy if you don't do them well. So it was probably a good choice. But yeah, that was weird to find out. Okay, let's just go for the easy one then. All I want from this guy is a +2. No, I wanted to turn around. God damn it. Don't kill me. Actually, I think there's a save up there. Let's go. There should be. If there isn't, there's definitely one outside the gate. Or at least a health recovery, because 50. Better than nothing. No, that's arrows. No. That's some health. That's good. Okay, let's just try to survive on the health then. I'm just gonna use it to practice my combos at this point. Oh god. This might be 16, yeah. But I think the other channel already gives you a +4. So I'm not sure this is going to be any gain at all. Okay, there should be another gate captain around here. Or did they killed it already? Okay, so it's just Dong Zhuo left then. Alright! I really wish those lines were voice acted. I wonder if they are in the Japanese version. Maybe they are, I just don't know. So I just realized the emulator window wasn't focused that whole time. I didn't seem to have a dip in performance because of that, so that's interesting to know. Okay, I started stream pretty late, and it's been a while since I streamed anyway, and you know how I am, how I have to ramp up into things, so probably going to be ending it right now. It was the joy to finally get to this again, so you know, as always, thanks for watching. I'll be uploading this onto YouTube soon. Well, actually, I'll be uploading it soon, but I'll put it on the backlog, so it may take a while before you get to see it. I've been trying to be good about building a backlog, and knowing my streaming habits is a good idea because I just, you know, have wild amounts in between where I just don't do anything. So I just have it set up to I'm trying to build it to where I can have like a good 2 months of semi-regular uploads, right? Scheduled before I start just pushing them live. I think I have enough, but you know, we'll see. I'm still uploading them in case you thought that the YouTube channel was just kind of frozen. Although if you're watching this on YouTube, then it's already been unfrozen for a bit, hasn't it? So, kind of useless to say. Either way, thanks for watching. Bye.